Hey, happy Wednesday. It's hump day. We are diving into the week, and I am on fire this morning, this afternoon, wherever time zone you're in, to share some key things that I do that really skyrocket sales. And I want to really reveal, like peel back the layers of creating a multiple seven-figure coaching business and what it takes to think like that, what it takes to take the actions that we've taken, where I've gotten stuck, what hasn't worked. We're actually in a rebrand on the Epic Success podcast. We are working on rebranding it because really I want to give to you the key thinking, the key processes, the key actions that you need in order to pass the six-figure onto the seven-figure mark in your business. Literally, this is the how did I think differently? Where did I get stuck? So one of the things I wanted to talk about today is how to skyrocket sales. It is something that I know I got very frustrated in the beginning when I was trying to grow my business, and I was doing all the things that the gurus told me to do. I was going live, I was doing webinars, I was doing the action, but I wasn't yet getting the sales that I wanted to get in my coaching business. And so I wanted to talk about that today, and what three key things that I did that skyrocketed my sales in my business, so that if it's valuable to you, you can start implementing in your own business. Because I believe that the change that we need to see in this world are for online coaches, course creators, online entrepreneurs, book authors, to get their messages and their mission out to the world. They can't be the best kept secret. And I remember that feeling of being a best kept secret and doing all the things the gurus told me to do, but not seeing the traction. So, right, traction. Do you, if you can hear me okay, say, I can hear you. Hey, Heather, if you can hear me, tell me you can hear me. I just want to make sure that you can hear me and see me. Everything's sounding great, and we're good to go. Give me some thumbs up if you're hearing me great, because I know sound and I don't want to just keep talking. So yes, good to see you, Heather. So I really want to give over the next few weeks, as I'm doing these micro coaching sessions. Even on Thursday, I'm going to be doing some live micro coaching where I'm going to coach you specifically. I want to help you create these sales plans. I want to help you get over these speed bumps, because I know you have a mission that needs to help people. And the only way for people to hear you is for you to start thinking like a seven-figure entrepreneur, so that you can get to six and then beyond, right? And so I know when I first started out, even though I was doing the actions, my belief hadn't caught up with my actions. My belief that I had the capacity, my belief that the sales were going to come, my belief that I had what it took, my belief I was doing the right actions. Have you ever felt like that banana peel kind of feeling, where you're doing the work, but it feels like you're just on that treadmill or on that banana peel because you can't seem to convert the volume of sales? Now, I know you're driven, and I know you have sales, and I know you've created maybe a side hustle or even gotten some level of traction, but it hasn't been enough where you're skyrocketing sales. Like, sales are skyrocketing, right? And that word for me is traction. I really wanted traction. I'm just going to writing down that word, because it's like the feeling of I'm getting results, but the volume isn't getting to where I see it going from 6 to 7. And the interesting thing is that the actions aren't that much different once you learn to train your brain to think like a seven-figure entrepreneur thinks. So I'm going to be diving into that over the next weeks with this micro coaching. We're rebranding the podcast where we've got a few names that we're in between. I'm going to ask you your thoughts. We have been talking about Train Your Brain for Seven-Figure Success podcast. We've been thinking about Seven-Figure Mindset Coach podcast. We've been thinking Seven-Figure Mindset Lab. I'm curious which lands with you most. Entrepreneur Success Lab. We've been thinking about those kind of things. So I'd love to get your feedback on that. But I want to share with you today 3 keys that will skyrocket your sales. They did it for me. It will work for you. And so here's the key. Beyond belief, which we'll talk about more tomorrow. So I'll be back here at noon Central tomorrow to talk about a 7-figure thinking. Like, how do you, it's one thing to think about these things about skyrocketing sales, but what I don't want for you is to have to constantly replace sales. Like, you get a sale, but then they don't renew, or you get a sale, but they don't follow through. And you get enough to see that it's starting to get off the ground, but not enough to get you to 6 or get you to 7. That is not a sales strategy problem. That's a belief challenge. And so we're going to talk about, what does it take to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur? If you're excited about tomorrow's live, put that in the chat, put 7-figure in the chat, because it is the key linchpin to everything shifting, And so I'm going to talk about these 3 keys to skyrocketing your sales. These 3 things that I did once I aligned and had 7-figure belief. See, I had the 7-figure belief built in my brain before I actually was even at 6 figures. And so I want to share those tools. We're going to have a live event coming up in September where we help you fast forward your results by learning how to train your brain to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur and learn how to create a 67-day year, right? 67-day year. If you're like, I want to know how to get these big goals, these big traction goals in a shorter period of time. So that's what we're going to be doing in the live challenge coming up in September called the 67-Day Year Challenge. So I want to talk about skyrocketing sales. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the belief patterns that need to be there so that you can. But these are key things. And a lot of times, and tell me in the chat, we think, oh, well, I have to have enough credibility. I have to be known in the marketplace. I have to be the expert and know all the information and prove to people that I do before I'm going to start getting sales. If what I just described for you, that thinking pattern, that I must be the expert, I must prove that I know what I'm doing, I must have everything dialed in perfectly, I must be perfect. If all of that is kind of going on in your mind before you think you can create sales or create traction in your business, just say all the things in the chat. Just write all the things, because that's where my mindset was when I didn't have a 7-figure mindset. And when I wasn't believing that sales were imminent, sales could skyrocket. Right. So we think about all these things. We think we have to have perfection. We think and even put in the chat too, if you're like, hey, I am driven. I am doing, just write driven. If you're like, I'm driven, I'm doing things, I'm doing strategies, but it's just not going fast enough. And that's exactly what the challenge is going to be about, is to help you get the thinking and the process of 7-figure accomplishment so that you can get there faster, right? So yeah, you're driven. Exactly. Like, here's what I know about you. You're not a victim. You're not sitting around thinking you're overwhelmed and not doing anything about it. You might have those thoughts like, oh, I'm gonna overwhelm, but you don't pull yourself out of the game. But the biggest frustration, I hear it over and over again, is it's just not moving fast It's not moving fast enough. And so there's this weird shift that needs to happen. And it happened for me when I was in all the things. I had to be perfect. I had to say the perfect thing. I had to have it all together. And really, the three key things that skyrocket your sales have nothing to do with you. Whew, what? Yeah. So here I'm thinking I've got to have the perfect offer, the perfect thing to say, the perfect experience. Everything has to be, all the ducks have to be in a row, and I have to do it perfectly, and I have to prove my expertise, and I have to prove that I'm worthy, and I have to prove all this stuff before someone will value me enough to uh, gain traction in sales, right? And in reality, to skyrocket sales, it's really the three keys that shifted everything for my sales had nothing to do with me. And once I got the mindset of that, and we're going to deep dive into this, what is a seven-figure mindset? How do you think like a seven-figure entrepreneur? What actions do you take as a seven-figure entrepreneur? Because let me ask you this question. Answer me in the chat. How much faster do you think you'll get to six figures if you're thinking like somebody at seven? Tell me in the chat. Just write faster in the chat, or slower, but if you think so. But like, how much faster do you think you're going to get to six figures if you're thinking like somebody that thinks at seven? Crazy fast, right? Exactly. Crazy fast. And so I want to help you strategically. And that's why I'm talking about skyrocketing sales and how to get seen and known. We're going to be hitting all these topics in this micro coaching that I'm doing leading up to our live event. And you're going to want to get a seat to that live event. The page is not ready yet, but you're going to want to make sure you come back and just DM me and ask me for that link, and I'll get it for you, because the 67-day year live event is where we're going to be deep diving on all the thinking you need for a seven-figure entrepreneur mindset and all the actions that you need to take to act like a seven-figure entrepreneur so that speed happens. And that's why we call it a 67-day year. It's all based on the brain science and the scientific evidence of how seven-figure entrepreneurs operate versus struggling entrepreneurs. And we want to break all that down for you in the live event. Okay, here we go. Number one, to skyrocket your sales, the first thing I needed to figure out that really started gaining the traction, and I'm talking people coming to me saying, hey, I'd like to know more about working with you. So tell me in the chat if that say, heck yeah, if that sounds amazing, that you're not having to have this offer pitch fest, but that you're just able to serve people deeply and so intimately that they start coming to you and saying, hey, I'd love to see how I could work with you. I'd love to see if we could work together, right? And that's the difference between a seven-figure thinking. That is a clue right there that I just gave you. A seven-figure thinking entrepreneur versus a struggling surviving entrepreneur, right? Struggling, surviving entrepreneurs think, I'm going to write that down too, because I remember being a struggling, barely surviving entrepreneur, feeling like I had to be perfect in order for people to buy from me. So number one, the first key is you've got to know their problem or problems. You've got to know your ideal client, the perfect person. And you do know that the perfect person, whether you're e-com, whether you're a course creator, whether you're a coach. I love my coaches. We know we certify coaches in our brain-based model. So really important that you know to coach the right way. That's not what we're talking about right now, but I will use every moment of airtime to say that, because if you're not certified in our coaching certification, you do not know the right way to coach. Okay, I digress. So number one is know their problem. Now, nowhere in there did I say have the perfect answer. Nowhere in there did I say have everything, all the evidence that no one else has what you have. I didn't say that. I said know their problem. See, We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on courses to market, to get messaging. And these three simple keys that I'm talking about right now all help your perfect clients, plural, feel like you have the answer. And here's the thing. No one wants to buy coaching. No one wants to buy courses. No one wants to buy books. What, Shannon? You're just like, so this is not what I was coming here to get motivated about. No one wants to buy those things. You're like, you're crazy, mama. No one wants to buy them. Tell me in the chat, what do you actually want to buy when you're buying a book, when you're buying a course, when you're getting coaching? What are you actually wanting? Why are you saying, I want to work with you? I want what you have created, right? You want the results. No one wants the actual coaching, the course, the book, the etc. They want the results and the process and the acceleration and the shortcut, right? So I hope that gives you just a lot of relief, because the key here is you've been through an experience. I hope you're not trying to sell something you don't know about, right? So that's going to be the hardest road to toe. So if that's you, I'd say let's reevaluate. Let's have a conversation about where you're at. But know their problem is number one, because that is what they're trying to solve. So if here's a great example, a little meta moment. So I know the biggest problem that amazing course creators, authors, and coaches struggle with is getting sales in an automated way, getting traction with sales. Say yes if that is true. Say yes if that is true. I don't think you'd be live with me or watching this on the replay if you had more sales than you knew what to do with, and you're just like, Shannon, I can't keep up with all the sales that keep coming in. I need to replicate myself. No. When we're starting, or you're at 5 figures and you're driven and you want that traction, you don't have the sales that you want. That is your problem. And I know that because I am you. I am the person that went through the struggling, barely surviving entrepreneur, the slippery slope of struggle and survival, getting a few clients and then not happening there, and getting a few clients and not happening there. Right. And then feeling like, okay, I'm helping some, but I'm not helping the amount of people I want. So the key here is knowing their problem. That's number one. And then number two, to Skyrocket Sales, that these really just add together to create a desired outcome, is that number two, know what their desired outcome is. So like for Lillian here, she teaches keto for weight loss. And so she really needs to know, you really need to know, what is that desired outcome? So what is the problem and what is the outcome individually for your perfect clients? And here's the thing. I know you can help everybody. One of the key indicators that an entrepreneur is in the struggling, surviving identity is that they're saying this sentence: I don't want to leave anyone out. I can help everyone. See, this is not a 7-figure mindset. A 7-figure mindset says, I want to be the biggest fish in the smallest pond, and then I can jump ponds, right? So we can't know everyone's problem, but we can absolutely know a 40-year-old mom of 2 who has to work or is working as well. And she is not she doesn't look like she used to look. She's not able to eat how she used to eat. And she's feeling tired at the end of the day. And her problem is that nothing works like it used to. And she's starting to feel like a failure, and she's not doing anything different. So that's an example of really knowing the problem and knowing the desired outcome. She just wants her body. She wants to love the body she's in again. I'm giving a health example there. And without going too deep into sales psychology, there's a motivator, whether it's financial, relational, or health, that we need to tap into. Because I'll say it again, people do not buy coaching courses and books. They buy results and a path to get there fast. That's what they're buying. So if you don't know the problem that they have, it's going to be really hard to help them solve it. If you don't know their desired outcome, it's going to be really, really difficult to motivate them toward what they want. So these, I call it the pain, pleasure duad. Like, this is all you need for sales, for offers, because really at the end of the day, that's what they're trying to get to. Do you have a path? If I work with you, you know my problem so intimately, you can help me solve it, right? And so we don't want to go for the obvious pain. We want to go for the painful pain, the pain that they're not telling everyone about. They're telling people, I'd like to lose a few pounds. That's not their real pain. Their real pain is they hate the way they look in the mirror. They feel disgusted by it, right? So do you hear the difference? So when you're starting to talk to your prospective client, whether it's on a phone call, whether it's on a webinar, whether it's live, just like I am, or whatever mechanism, honestly doesn't matter. As long as you talk about the specificity of their problem, number one, and the desire of their outcome once they solve that problem, which is number two. Now, the psychology of sales means I hear that you have described my problem better than me. and you've talked about everything, my desires, all the things that I'm being like drawn toward. And then here's the linchpin. You ready for the linchpin? You share what you've done. The internet is full of uneducated, non-results people saying, do this, do this, do this, do this, and they don't even have the results. It's like the 18-year-old results coach or the relationship coach. I'm sorry if that's you, but like at 18, you haven't had enough relationship clout. Do you know what I mean? Or the $500 or $200 a month business coach, right? Don't sell what you haven't done, but share what you've done. Just like I started this live, I'm like, hey, I want to share with you the thinking that I had to overcome and the actions that I had to take to have a multiple seven-figure business. I hope it helps you, right? Because I'm not going to teach you or tell you anything that I haven't walked through the fire on, that I haven't said, wait a minute, there's a faster way to do that. There's a better way to do that. Now, if you think about all the times you might have had calls or gone live, you're trying to prove your expertise. I was listening to Alex Hormozi yesterday, and he's like, he does this whole big presentation on a social content strategy. And then he said, but listen, if I got up here and then you looked at my social channels and I had 200 followers, I would look at you and I would say, so what? And I thought, that is it. It's, hey, do what I did. It might get you what you want versus do this, do this, do this, do this. Somebody just got set free on that, right? Somebody got set free. So the three keys, when I went from struggling, like slippery, surviving, not really getting traction, to a high multiple seven-figure entrepreneur, is I shifted all my energy to these three key things. I know the problem. What's the problem of your ideal client? In detail. If you don't know, call up somebody that is your ideal client and ask to interview them and ask them questions. Know the desired outcome and have that be most of what you share. Share what you've done. Don't be afraid to give your information away, because here's the thing. Generosity and knowing the problem and the desired outcome creates for people the desire for help with implementation. In other words, will you have freebie seekers? Always, it's the internet. Okay. Always is the internet. I hope you're being really generous with your content, because at the end of the day, why somebody buys a course or buys coaching or buys your book is because you know their problem. You've gone through and have their desired outcome. Remember, you're the 2.0 of their 1.0, and you're sharing, this is how I did it. I hope it helps you. And as you share, this is how I did it. I hope it helps you. And you're talking about the problem that you used to have and they still have. You're talking about that desired outcome that you're on your way to or have parts of that they don't have yet. And they start to feel seen and heard. And they have information, yes, but they want to work with you for the implementation. And so your freebie seekers will always be there. But what will happen if you follow these 3 steps and you're talking about the problem live, and you're talking about the desired outcome live, and you're talking about the lies that people put out in the internet that are in opposition to this, and you share what you've done, what starts to happen to skyrocket your sales is people start to say, knock, knock, how do I work with you? How do I work with you? And that is the best skyrocketing sales strategy that I could possibly teach you, because here's the key. And I put this in my thread this morning, and I want to say it now. People neglect, well, let me say this a different way. People focus on sales, and that's okay, because nobody can get the transformation without saying yes and being a paying clients, because the transformation is in that transaction, right? Free people don't pay attention. However, when they say yes, and they will, because you're going to focus on their problem, focus on their desired outcome, and share what you did, and they're going to start saying, knock, knock, how can I work with you? I want fast implementation. I want to work with you. And as that happens, here's what I want to encourage you to do is really deliver the results. Walk with them, help them think differently, help them see it differently, and help them take the actions and get the skills that they need to do what you've done. And that's when the magic happens for skyrocketing sales, because you have retention, meaning that person doesn't go away. And you have reference and recommendation, meaning they're telling 5 more people about you. And now this cycle starts what I call the takeoff. The takeoff isn't just the initial sales. The takeoff is the results that you get your clients. More on that coming up next week. Now, tomorrow I'll be back live with you, same time, 12 p.m. Central, where I'm going to be doing some live micro coaching with you on breaking down your specific business's sales strategy. I want to work out for you how to get to the number you're trying to shoot for. So tell me in the chat, what number in your business, whether it's number of clients or number of dollars, we all know that that's impact, right? So what are you trying to get to? If you're watching this on the replay, just put it in the chat. Are you trying to get to 5 figures, to 6 figures, to 7 figures, or 100 clients, 10 clients? What is that number that you are saying is the traction number? What is the traction number? And I'm going to talk a little bit tomorrow about 7-figure thinking. And then I want to hot seat a couple of you live and map out for you a path to get there. Does that sound good? That's what we'll do together live tomorrow. Same place that you're watching it, whether you're on YouTube, you're on my Facebook page, or you're in the Unleashed Entrepreneur Facebook group. And I hope you are, because that's where it's where the whole training, that whole challenge that I talked about, that's where we'll be doing that, the 67-day year challenge. I cannot wait to be back with you tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Remember, Skyrocket Sales, here's the great news. It doesn't have anything to do with you being perfect, you being expert enough, you being having every single thing dialed in. It has to be with them knowing their problem, you knowing their desired outcome, and sharing what you did and the information that will help them make the decision to work with you to get implementation. So I hope this has been valuable for you today. Come back tomorrow live. We are going to hot seat a couple of your businesses and get you thinking more like a 7-figure entrepreneur so that you can become one. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the live Think Like a 7-Figure Entrepreneur micro coaching. I'll see you then. Bye.